Infinite state.
Infinite state.
Infinite state.
Infinite state.
Move into a new reality and upgrade the way you interact with the world.
One of the things that I'm seeing in our culture right now is everybody's getting offended. Everybody's offended by something. Something somebody did, somebody didn't do, something that they did to you. And I've talked before about victimhood, and I think it's important to talk about being offended as well. We can be offended because if we have a strong moral compass and somebody says something to us that's offensive, as long as it's not a life-threatening thing, we can be offended by it. Like, that's not okay. If I believe that something's white and you say, nope, it's black, instead of going, no, it's white, I can't believe that you're, and reacting in that fight or flight sense, you go, well, why do you think it's black? To me, it looks white. And then you can have a conversation. But if both people are in that offending place and they're holding on to this value so strong and this moral thing so strong, they can't ask questions. And one of the greatest things that I've heard people talk about, Joe Rogan talks about this, some of my favorite intellectuals say that you can't be married to your ideas. And you can't be married to your ideas because you're going to get offended and you're never going to grow. If you have these ideas, and now I understand that we have moral compasses like thou shalt not kill, treat people with respect, be kind. Yeah, those are non-negotiable. But when it comes to your ideas, you can change them. That's totally fine. But you can't be married to them and be offended if somebody has something different. And if we're going to heal as a society right now, which I'm really really worried about because everybody's siloing into these two different places. If we're really going to sit back and go, oh man, I can't believe that they said that. I can't believe that they do that. I'm getting offended. If you're offended, you're not understanding the narrative of what it is like to be a human. Because if somebody offends you and you get offended, if you sit back, and I always say this, look at it objectively and go, man, why is that offending me? Then you can analyze your idea and you can say, well, what's your idea? And maybe what they'll do is they'll come back to you and say, well, I feel it's this way. And you go, no, I feel it's this way. And then you can have a conversation, and who knows? You may not change your opinion. You may change your opinion, but let somebody make that argument. Let somebody say to you, hey, like, why do you think that way? And then what it does is it challenges your idea. And then you have to explain your idea. And then you can come to the conclusion of, wow, that's really rooted in something that I don't really think anymore or believe anymore. Then the other person can say, well, yeah, that's interesting that you say that. Maybe I could incorporate a little bit of that into my life. So to me, getting offended is a version of victimhood and a version of the world's out to get you. And when you're looking for offenses all the time, when you're looking for somebody to offend you, it takes you offline. It doesn't allow you to think. It doesn't allow your tuition to step in and go, man, that was really offensive. I wonder why. Why was that joke offensive? And then, or why was that political thing that person said offensive? And then you can step back and you can take your rational brain and you can say, yeah, I still find that offensive. I don't appreciate that. Instead of going, oh my God, can you believe it? It's using your brain. And when you're in that offended state, you're in fight or flight and you're offline. So I would really urge you to go through life and go, maybe my ideas can change. And they absolutely can. And the healthiest people that I know on this planet, and the ones that I really respect, have changed their opinions. And that's okay. And if you can give a good rational argument as to why your opinion is changing, I think that's even more powerful than holding on to these ideals and these opinions that are just not really going to move you forward because you're stuck. You're stuck in this narrative and you're in a box, and then you get into that narrative with all these other people, and then you're in that box. And now you've got these two boxes that can't even see each other because there's no windows, and there's nobody's coming out and having coffee and saying, hey, what's your opinion? What's your opinion? It's just two boxes of people in fight or flight in lizard brain as archaic versions of ourselves, which is what I believe we've kind of got to, because intelligence and emotional intelligence is not valued as much as it was at some point. And we're really starting to see this growth and this awakening happening on this planet. And I really hope, and I really believe that the only way to sow this divide and to bring people together is to not get offended, to not be the victim, and to really challenge people's ideas. And if we truly are siloed like that, then that's just the way that it goes. But right now, I don't see a lot of that. There's a lot of people saying one thing, doing something else, and then nobody's allowed to think right now. They're being told what to think. And I just hope people use their intuition more, develop their intuition, and use their rational mind more to ask yourself about facts instead of being offended constantly, because you're not in your best space when you're offended. So what I would say is, if you can step back and ask yourself, what's offending me? Why am I getting offended by this? And you're still offended by it, that's fine. But everybody should take time to think about their ideas and allow them to be challenged, and allow your ideas to challenge others, because that's how we are as a society. That's how we get forward. We don't shut down ideas. If we shut down ideas, we're not going to move forward at all. So even if you don't agree with someone, ask questions, learn where they're coming from. Maybe your mind will change. My mind has many times. I'm a completely different person, and I've completely different ideas and ideals than I was 5 years ago. Again, the root moral compass is there. Thou shalt not kill, treat people with kindness. That not changed for me. But my ideas on the stacking of that, about how I view things, how I look at things, what I invest in, what I invest my time in, a lot of that changed. And I'm happy it changed, because it changed for me for the better. I'm a much more joyful human being. I'm not focused on things that I used to be focused on that were ego-driven. I'm focused on things that I really think are going to allow more light into the world and not as much darkness. And darkness is fine. If you want the darkness or if you want the light, that's fine. But to me, the more light that you have through these cracks of ideas, then the more you're rooted in who you are and what you believe, and we can move forward as a society as opposed to backwards. So look at what's offending you, ask questions around it, and see if you're really getting the story, if you're really getting the true story, because that's been questioned these days. And I'm hoping that as we move forward, the truth and the stories and the way that we are spoken to, the way we speak to others, will be rooted in transparency, and we will have healthy conversations around the beautiful thing that moves us forward, ideas. Peace and love. Tyler Summers here. If you enjoyed that podcast or the content of that podcast, I would love it if you went to infinitestateapp.com. I've developed an app with powerful tools that took me from this guy with an oversized ego, depressed, victim, anxious, fearful, jealous, envious, reactive, pessimistic. I was an addict, to this guy. Unconditional love, loving others, feeling light, hopeful, joyful, energetic, purposeful, more emotionally intelligent, and learning from what the universe offers instead of being a victim. www.infinitestateapp, you'll be able to download for free this powerful tool, always free. And if you want, there's a premium subscription that gets you access to 170 plus meditations, 2+ hours of course content, and over 300 journal prompts, all to help you sleep better, relax, feel less anxious, less procrastination in your life, be more productive, have emotional release, trauma healing, addiction healing, and manifestation. And my favorite, emotional intelligence. So head to www.infinitestateapp.com and grow your mindfulness muscle with all of these powerful tools. Peace and love.